His work is based on the continent of Africa. He's based in Kenya, where he co-founded Solidarity Africa Network. We're now going to turn our attention to Afghanistan. It was on October 7th, 2001, that the U.S. and its allies invaded Afghanistan. No public events, however, are planned by the United States or NATO on Friday to mark the moment the U.S. entered the longest conflict this history has been engaged in since Vietnam. Hundreds of people marched through the streets of Kabul today, demanding the immediate withdrawal of international military forces. The demonstrators chanted "No to occupation" and "Americans out." More than 1,700 members of the U.S. military have died, more than 12,000 wounded since the invasion began, and between 17,000 to more than 37,000 civilians have died. And here to tell us about some of the events happening around this 10-year anniversary, I'd like to welcome back to Sojourner Truth Sonali Kolhatkar, host of Uprising, but also the co-director of the Afghan Women's Mission. Sonali, welcome.
Thank you, Margaret. Thanks so much for having me on.
Okay, Sonali, tell us, let's start out, first of all, with what the Afghan Women's Mission will be doing to mark the 10th anniversary.
Well, tomorrow, which is the 10th anniversary of the war, tomorrow, Friday at 7 p.m., we're so excited to be able to give Americans a chance to hear firsthand from an underground Afghan activist. You just heard about the demonstration. You mentioned the demonstration that just happened in Kabul. And the group I work with, that Afghan Women's Mission works with, is RAWA, the Revolutionary Association of the Women of Afghanistan, who are the oldest women's political organization in the country. Even the demonstrators in Kabul today who were holding up pictures of civilian casualties killed, many of those were photographs from RAWA's own website who document these things. So tomorrow we're going to be speaking with a young member of RAWA, a 19-year-old woman who was 9 when the war began. And we're going to be doing it across the globe. We're going to have this internet conversation via Skype with her in front of a live audience. It's going to be live webcast on our website at 7 p.m. People can join us at PCC, the campus of Pasadena City College, Krebling Lounge, CC building at 7 p.m. for the actual event, to actually sit there and watch the live conversation. If they can't make it to PCC, they can just go to AfghanWomen'sMission.org and tune in at 7 p.m. Pacific time to watch the entire broadcast. We'll be taking questions from the audience present as well as from our Facebook page, so people can really try to ask her questions. I'll be interviewing her, and then we'll take questions. And so I'm very excited, and I hope people can get the chance to hear from this woman, because we usually hear, if we hear from Afghan voices, they're here in the United States, or they are somehow connected to the U.S. government, because the U.S. has tried so much to put an Afghan stamp on the American version of democracy, and they've put U.S. citizens who are of Afghan origin in the government. The government is so corrupt and so linked to warlordism, very much like the Taliban. Here you get to hear a voice of a woman who's part of the underground resistance to both the fundamentalist warlords, the Taliban, trio, I should say, and the U.S. NATO occupation.
Yeah, and the fact that they've been around for 30 years, that means that they've been all through that, the Soviet invasion, the warlords,
exactly,
and knowing exactly what's happening. But also, it's quite dangerous for members of RAWA.
It's very dangerous. RAWA members never reveal their faces, so the woman who's going to be joining us will have part of her face covered. They have to use pseudonyms. They move from house to house. Their members have been attacked, killed, imprisoned. Their founder was assassinated in 1987. And so, yes, it's very dangerous. And it's dangerous for all underground Afghan activists. That's why we rarely hear about who's actually agitating, beneath the surface, who are not part of who reject fundamentalism, who reject war and occupation, because it's so dangerous for them. If they're not killed by the U.S. occupation, they are targeted by the warlords themselves.
Right. And finally, tell us also about some of the work of the Afghan Women's Mission. I mean, that clearly this is part of the work to bring these voices. You've also brought Malalai Joya,
who was on your program. Absolutely, yeah. The mission is twofold: educate Americans, but also to do solidarity, real solidarity with women on the ground. So we fund through our programs schools, orphanages, literacy programs, what our RAWA calls income generating programs. And it's really important for us that they have the power. We never tell them what to do, unlike most nonprofits and standard aid organizations. They are the ones who decide how their work should be done. We help them with financial solidarity, and everybody can participate in that. But they need financial and moral solidarity. They don't need our troops.
Yeah, and to give that kind of solidarity, what should people do?
Well, they can go to AfghanWomen'sMission.org. They can make donations directly online. They can spread the word. They can organize their own fundraisers. They can invite people. If you're not doing anything tomorrow night, invite a bunch of people to your house at 7 p.m. Sit around the computer, watch the webcast live, take some donations, pass the hat, and send them for the work that RAWA is doing. It's really, really important. That's a great way that they can make a difference.
Right, and for people who can actually come to the event, tell us the venue again.
It's at PCC, Pasadena City College, Creveling Lounge in the CC building, and it's at 7 p.m. And you can just find all the details at AfghanWomen'sMission.org. I'm very happy that KPFK is sponsoring the event too, and actually KPFK will be webcasting the event on KPFK's website too at kpfk.org. So you can check KPFK's website for all the details as well.
Right, well, Sonali Kolhatkar, thank you so very much for joining us, and I'm sure everybody will stay tuned because Uprising will start very, very shortly.
Margaret, thanks so much for all your support.
Okay, we